father's father. But I was always under the impression that we had a lot of Native Indian blood in us.
Where do you think the idea stemmed from? Who was the first person you heard say such a thing?
My mother.
Really?
Yeah, it was my mother, because my father, you could tell he had something else in him.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so it was that Indian, because, you know.
Well, I went through Ancestry.com and I did go through the lineage to see visually if we did have Native American. It didn't say that, but
in the first series, and we gave her a DNA test. Basically, the next day she went to South Africa to announce that she was opening what became the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy. She was in an auditorium like 75,000 people or something, and she announced that she just had the test and that she was Zulu. So it broke on CNN. I was sitting in my living room minding my own business and said, Oprah Winfrey's a Zulu. So I called Rick Kittles, and I said, Rick, did you tell Oprah she was a Zulu? He goes, no, man, she made that up herself. It's a true story. It's a true story. I would lie to make you laugh, but I'm telling you a true story. So I said, Rick, are you in your lab? He said, yeah. I said, is anybody there? He said, no. I said, when the results come in, make her Zulu, man. You know? I said, you back there making it up anyway. Nobody believe you can take some spit and figure out a tribe? What, are you crazy?
Through this, brown and black are colors. They're not necessities. And that's what people need to understand. Many a times in this country, history has been omitted. And folks don't understand what omitted history is. That type of history is history that has been left completely out of the history books. So you have to go on your old stories and know what your old stories are. That is key. Many people don't realize this. So inside
it had Native American. It didn't say that, but like you said, Boley, Oklahoma did come up. Somewhere up Midwest came up as well, and I did trace a family of mulattoes. Now I don't know if they classified Native Americans as mulattoes.
Yes, because he looked like a mulatto. That's what my grandfather looked like.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He looked
so
mulatto.
with this new
look at the census enumerators, it tells you this. The best thing everybody can do that's listening to me right now is study the history of the census. Not the census, study the history of it. And when you study the history of it, go and look at the state and local statute codes of laws that govern race. Because if you find a community with 500 musties or 500 mulattoes, what do you mean by musty? Musty is what they call a Native American mixed with an African. That offspring is a musty. If an Indian is mixed with white, they called them mulatto back then. These are different words and phrases they're playing with.
Dad's side too, although I think there's predominantly African. He also claimed that there was Native American because of his mom being fair complected, but there is no Native American coming up in my ancestry. There's only 18% European.
You did the DNA?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're waiting on the results to see what tribes we share ancestry with in West Africa.
I really want to know that.
when it comes up, I'm definitely going to share that with you, Mother.
I have the affinity towards African.
I know.
But
I know.
There are certain people who I've met in my life who said, "Oh my God, you're an African queen," and all that stuff. You know, I'm like, I'm basically like, yeah, right.
Like most American blacks.
Yeah, I didn't even identify with being
And
African.
then I think when I had told you last year, you know, when I was going through the case, how I had surrounded myself with some black Moors who were saying that, you know, we were already here and this and that.
Exactly.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I just didn't.
So it's a bit confusing. That's why I chose to go to DNA so that we can get some answers scientifically. Some people may disagree or may not feel comfortable with the simple fact
Well,
that
I mean, if it is, it is.
yeah, that's why I'm open to that, and that's why I said, you know what, let's go to the
But
science.
now look at your dad. He did not look African.
He looked African to me.
More Indian look. He had a Native American in him.
Yes, but you know, actually, it's not Native American. It's an
Like
African
Geechee,
gene.
like,
It's the African gene.
It's an African
We've
gene.
given too much credit to the Native American.
Emails, and I'm getting a lot of inquiries about this DNA. You know, everybody's paying for these DNA tests. Are those DNA tests valid? And if they are, what do they tell us?
I am a computer scientist by degree. I am also an engineer. I deal with black and white, and I deal with common sense. They have never really been scientific proven unless you've taken a DNA test for a paternity. So if you want to take a DNA test and go dig up the oldest ancestor you have in your church or your family cemetery, by all means go take a DNA test. Because you're doing it with your relatives. How is it possible for Native people who converted to Christianity or took European names, where are these surnames based upon? Because it's European. I have a serious problem with it. Oh, sure, you'll be genetic cousins, but you're not blood cousins. Yes, they improvement. How is DNA going to tell me who my relative was 10,000 years ago? It's not a scientific fact. It's a guess, like Einstein's theory of relativity. It's never been proven. They take it to be fact. But you have people out there that live and die by DNA. I don't believe in it. I don't need it. I will never take one. Why should I take one if I can go back to 1725? Documentation on my family. I can go back another 60 years with oral stories. I'm not going to take one. I think it's laziness when people get into it. And what people really need to do, your ancestors, your great-grandma or your great-aunt or great-grandpa left you something. And when he said, my mother was an Indian, my daddy was an Indian, so what does make you think that you're not an Indian? The blood just died out and disappeared with you?
Just because your ancestors were reclassified as Negro and placed in slavery, and after slavery, your ancestors still knew who they are and knew who they were. Now, all of us didn't come off the boat. We were slaves who were already here. So that's to keep in mind.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes.
My question is on the term black. You know, we've been hearing the term black ever since I was a little kid. James Brown, Black and I'm Proud, he had a perm in his head. Black power, all of these things never seem to work. What is it about that term black that keeps us in the condition that we're in?
First of all, black is a color. It's not a necessity. It deals with color. Doesn't deal with the ethnic of who you are. It deals with skin color. That's what people should be very careful with and understand it. Brown is a skin color. These things are colors, not your necessity.
And Chief, one more thing. I have never in my life seen nobody who was the color black. I mean, when we say black, it's like the color of my camera is black. The color of some shoes are black. Why are we so engulfed, and why do we take on that color like that's who we really are?
Because that is what was labeled and given to us. You don't find many white folks saying they're white. When you sit down and talk to them, they will tell you they're Scottish, or Irish, or German. That's what they will tell you, or Italian. Why is it that black folks are always talking about black? Where? Do you know what tribe you descend from? My tribes don't descend from Africa. They descend from right here in the Savannah River. Yuchi, over 1,000 years. That's who we are. Through slavery, we're still here. Jim Crow, we're still here. The 50s and 60s, civil rights, we're still here. And we are here today. Yuchi. That's who we were. That's who we are. That's who we've been. That's who we continue to be. That's who I am today. I am a Yuchi Indian. Whether you want to call me a Yuchi Indian or Yuchi American Indian or Amerindian, I am Yuchi. Tahola, children of the sun. This is who I am in the Savannah River Valley, where my people have been for over 1,000 years. We are here. We didn't go to Oklahoma. We stayed and fought. Many of my ancestors have died. We're still here. I still have my practices. We know who we are. This is who we are. So you can call me colored. You can call me Negro. You can call me black. I am a Yuchi Indian.